The Central Asian Report is a program about the ongoing geopolitical trends and the panorama of the present-day realities in Central Asia.
Politics, economics and culture, events, trends and people. All this on one territory. Hello, you're watching the Central Asian Report in today's program. It's split in Central Asia. How can seismologists help? To break down and build up. Large-scale reconstruction of Dushanbe. The World Nomad Games. United in strength, united in spirit. And coming right up, headlines from Central Asia. The Russian Federal Agency of Air Transport has halted the servicing of all flights of the Turkmen Airlines company. This measure is temporary and is connected with the indebtedness of Turkmenistan's national air carrier. At the moment, the debt stands at $220,000, and its repayment period has been past due numerous times. Until the debt is repaid, the agency refuses to provide air navigation services for its flights. To note, the Turkmen Airlines have flights through Russia's airspace from Ashgabat and St. Petersburg, and also transit flights to Minsk, London and Birmingham. Tajikistan's Ministry of Internal Affairs has opened a new department, a center for counteracting human trafficking. It was opened with the support, including financial support, of the Embassy of the United States. According to the International Migration Organization, in the last 11 years, around 700 citizens of Tajikistan became victims of human trafficking. The majority of them are women and children, including 108 underage children. Most often they are sent to Turkey, Arab countries and Russia, where they are forced into sexual slavery. The country's Ministry of Internal Affairs hopes that the new organization will aid in preventing crimes connected with human trafficking. In Uzbekistan, tariffs on utilities have gone up. In Tashkent, tariffs on hot and cold water, central heating, natural gas and electricity have been increased. On average, this has been a 7% rise. The reason behind the rise has not yet been announced. I would add that the previous increase in tariffs in Uzbekistan happened in April of this year. At that time, the utilities fees on central heating went up by 9% and on hot and cold water by 5.5%. There has been a split in Central Asia. This is what seismologists are saying. Based on pictures made from space, they have determined a multitude of seismic faults across the territory of the region. In Kazakhstan alone, there are so many of them that 3 years were not enough for scientists to thoroughly study all of them. What is the danger of seismic faults, and how is the general situation in the region? Our correspondent found out at the conference, Earthquakes Without Borders. An international group of seismologists is studying the tectonic fault in the suburbs of Almaty. To be more precise, its consequences. There are many similar faults in the region of the Tian Shan Range, and almost all of them are active. That is why earthquakes are a regular occurrence in this region.
So remember, reverse faults, there is a fault right underneath us here, right? But we will not see that fault, but we will look at the evidence in the landscape.
Seismic faults are the result of underground earth shocks which happened in the past, including in the ancient prehistoric past. They can be seen very well on pictures from space, but fieldwork directly in the places of their occurrence provides scientists with more detailed data, for example, for making forecasts.
We have to go into the field, we have to look at the fault, we have to find a good place where we can dig a trench, and then we can do our kind of archaeological paleoseismology investigation and actually try and piece together the record of prehistoric earthquakes, and that will inform us about what might happen in future.
A seismologist from Kazakhstan, Aydin Muhambayev, told us that there are very many unstudied territories in Central Asia. Over the 3 years of the program, the group of scientists have not even gone further than the borders of the Almaty region.
Конкретно на территории Казахстана работы были проведены в Джунгаре.
Fieldwork specifically on the territory of Kazakhstan was conducted in Jungaria. The result is a Lepsinsky fault, which until now was not part of the map of Kazakhstan's tectonic faults.
До этого времени не входил в карту тектонических разломов Казахстана.
Scientists believe that in the last 400 years, there was an earthquake here with a magnitude of 8. The Lepsinsky fault will be included into the new map of the seismic zoning. It will be taken into account during the calculation of construction norms, as well as during the allocation of industrial objects and dangerous production sites. There are no other truly effective methods of forecasting earthquakes, and even more so, no methods of their prevention.
Поэтому нужно знать, как себя вести,
We have to know what to do. In case of a number of different events, we need to have some kind of scenarios. Therefore, if you are at home, if it happens at night, if you're at work, people need to know where to go, where to come at that time. There must be prepared documents and necessary things.
Где-то должны быть подготовлены документы и необходимые вещи.
In other words, for now, modern science has not been able to come up with anything other than an emergency kit. Despite the fact that we're used to calling the set of things necessary for survival as a survival suitcase, it is recommended to keep it in a backpack because it's much easier to carry. The survival kit has no place for family-inherited heirlooms or a dear-to-one's heart collection of stamps. One must focus on what would help them to survive for a couple of days without other people's aid. A reserve of water, food, first aid kit, and items that are of primary importance. Because during an emergency, one can count only on themselves. To break down and build up. The most large-scale reconstruction in the country's 25 years of independence is taking place in Tajikistan, in its capital city. Our correspondent in Dushanbe found out the details of the renewed general plan for the city and the interim results of its realization. The details in our next story. The general plan for the building up and reconstruction of Dushanbe was developed more than 30 years ago. But the city had to wait for more than almost a quarter of a century for its actual realization.
Генеральный план города Душанбе была разработана еще в 1983 году, она была утверждена и была рассчитана на 750.
The general plan was developed in 1983, intended for a population of 750,000 people, and was supposed to be realized by 2005. But because of the well-known historical events, it was not possible to fully realize the general plan. And in 2006, there was a decree to introduce changes into the existing plan.
Не смогли как-то полностью реализовать. И исходя из этого, значит, в 2006 году было принято, значит, постановление, чтобы внести корректировку в разработанный или уже имеющийся генеральный план.
In order to transform the center of the city, it was necessary to demolish the old buildings. This is where, at some point, the Lenin Park was. Old carousels and amusement attractions that were in critical conditions were irreparable. They were demolished, and a cozy square with alleys, benches, and fountains were built on the free-up territory. Now, this is one of the favorite places for relaxing of the city's residents and guests, and also part of the architectural ensemble of the Ismail Somoni Square.
Полным ходом идет, значит, со сносом ветхих.
The demolition of worn-out low-story buildings and construction of new ones is in full swing. The first ones are near the head post office, a number of residential buildings in Poytacht 80, and across the medical university, a number of new objects as well.
Объектов рядом, значит, с главпоштамтом это, ряд жилых домов, очень красиво было построено.
Very soon in the east of the city, new kindergartens will appear, trade centers, and a hospital. A number of residential districts will be brought to life, and this will allow to somewhat decongest the city, which is at the moment populated unevenly. Today, this micro-district is called Grey, due to the color of the small Khrushchev-era apartment buildings. Developers are promising that very soon this name will no longer be relevant. A brightly colored commuter district will soon appear here. The construction of the multi-entrance 16-story building is already in full swing. Residents whose houses are set to be demolished are offered two options: monetary compensation or equivalent housing in another district of the city. Those who choose money and want to improve their living conditions are offered the opportunity to participate in the state program, Accessible Housing. Apartments in such houses are cheaper, and it is possible to pay for it in installments. I found out that there's such an organization like Accessible Housing and was happy with the price. I submitted my documents and paid for the apartment and already got the place in just a couple of months. For Akbar Halimov, the apartment in the new building was 3 times cheaper. There was even some money left over to change the floor plan. Out of a studio, he made a 1-bedroom apartment. This is the bathroom, this is the bedroom, and this is the living room. The apartments in these buildings are sold without an interior finish. The price varies from $330 to $600 per square meter. Everything depends on the floor level. The higher, the cheaper. As a result, 40 square meter studio apartments right under the roof cost $13,000. In the commercial sector, such an apartment would cost at least $40,000. The apartments will be handed over to the owners without an interior finish, but with the setup of all utility channels, electricity lines, water supply, and drainage. Aside from the residential microdistricts, the construction of a whole set of large objects is in full swing in Dushanbe. This includes the National Theatre, the second extension of the combined heat and power plant, palaces of tennis and water sports. It is planned to commission them in the next upcoming years, and this is also all part of the general city plan. United in strength, united in spirit. This is the slogan under which the second World Nomad Games were held in Kyrgyzstan. Representatives of more than 40 countries competed in 23 types of competitions. And for now, this is the most large-scale international project for Kyrgyzstan. Our correspondent in Bishkek went to the Games and will now bring us the report on the most interesting aspects.
И в своем репортаже собрал для вас все самое интересное.
Even during the opening ceremony, before the official competitions commenced at the World Nomad Games, a world record has already been set. However, not in the world of sports, but in the world of music. The piece Mash Botoy was played by a Komuz orchestra of 2,000 people, and this is the most large-scale performance in history. This is the second time that the World Nomad Games are held. Unlike the first ones, this year's Games unexpectedly attracted a lot of people. More than 1,000 athletes came to participate out of 62 countries of the world. In addition, the president of Turkmenistan and the famous US actor Steven Seagal attended the opening ceremony. This is a celebration of returning to our roots, an opportunity to show our children and the entire world the richness of nomadic culture. And for the audience and our guests, it is an opportunity to discover something new to them, get a sense of original culture and ancient traditions, to witness the cordiality and genuineness of nomadic people. Specifically for the Games on the shores of the Issyk-Kul Lake in the Cholponatlı district, 5 sports objects were built. One of the most intriguing moments of the organization of the Games was whether their construction would be finished on time. But the developers did not let anyone down. This new racetrack, which fits 10,000 spectators, was not empty for even a minute. In the Jaylo Kırçın, athletes competed in Salburun. This is hunting with hunting birds and dogs. It was considered to be a truly Kyrgyz tradition, but it turned out that the knowledge of this exciting game has been passed on from generation to generation far beyond the borders of Kyrgyz steppes.
My bread game.
My ancestors were hawkers. My grandfather gave me my first sparrowhawk. It was my first hunting bird, then a skyhawk, a falcon, and today a golden eagle. This is the tradition of my family, and I'm holding it in my hands. My golden eagle is 3 years old, and his name is Tamar. One of the most entertaining events was perhaps the Kokboru competition. Around 60 athletes from 8 countries took part in it, including cowboys from the United States. In the battle with a team from Kazakhstan, which is considered to be one of the top Kokboru teams, the American team even managed to score one ulak or goal in the opponent's cauldron. Everyone says that this was because they were able to get into the spirit of the game and the spirit of this traditional sport. On the first day, our cowboys competed against the team from Russia, and they were very polite. At times they would give the US team the goat so that they could get it into the main cauldron. They showed a great example of sportsmanship, and we were very grateful for that. The team from Azerbaijan, aside from athletes, was also comprised of musicians. They came to the Games to support the athletes. When performing in an Azerbaijani gulesh, right before competing against an opponent, and after the competition, every athlete has to perform a dance. According to spectators, this old tradition truly embellished the wrestling competition. Overall, athletes competed for 387 medals in 23 types of sports. In the medal count, Kyrgyzstan finished first. The country's athletes won 75 medals, 25 of which are gold, 25 silver, and 29 bronze. Turkmenistan's team finished second. The country's athletes managed to win 15 gold, 3 silver and 6 bronze medals. Kazakhstan finished third with 12 gold, 12 silver and 13 bronze medals.
На этом
You are watching the Central Asian Report. Until next time on Kazakh TV.
Казах ТВ.